In the vast metropolis of Yanmaria, the air pulsed with the faint hum of automated patrols and the vibrant energy of alien life. Towering spires of shimmering metal stretched towards the sky, casting long shadows over the bustling streets below, where a kaleidoscope of alien species moved with methodical precision, each immersed in the strict rhythm of their carefully regulated world. Yanmaria thrived on order. Any disruption was swiftly silenced by the enforcers, and today they had an anomaly to address, one that, on the surface, appeared almost trivial. A lone figure made his way down the sleek, gleaming boulevard. He was tall, walking on two legs, dressed in a plain black jacket. His species was unmistakable, though seldom seen here human. While the aliens around him moved with mechanical efficiency, the human's gait was relaxed, hands casually tucked into his pockets, a soft whistle escaping his lips. To the beings of Yanmaria, his name was irrelevant. He was merely an Earth dweller, an outsider, and most critically, unapproved. Overhead, a patrol drone hovered for a moment, its sensors fixating on the man. The hum of the city seemed to falter briefly, as a collective ripple of awareness spread through the crowd. Alien citizens instinctively distanced themselves, their many limbs retracting from the strange presence among them. The man, however, remained unconcerned. Without warning, the ground ahead shimmered, and 6 enforcers materialized in a perfect circle around him, their tall, armored frames radiating authority. Their faces, if they could be called that, were hidden beneath sleek helmets, cold reflections of Yanmaria's unwavering law. The lead enforcer, towering over his comrades, stepped forward. A voice, metallic and devoid of warmth, crackled from the helmet. "Human," it declared. "You are under arrest for unauthorized intergalactic travel, interference with planetary matters, and breaching the sovereignty of Yanmaria." The human came to a stop, his gaze finally settling on the armored figures. His eyes, striking in their liveliness amidst the sterile surroundings, sparkled with amusement. "Is that right?" he responded, his voice steady and lightly amused, as though he had been expecting them all along. The lead enforcer stepped closer, his armored hand extending, ready with a pair of gleaming metallic cuffs. "Surrender immediately. Resistance is futile." The human's expression remained calm, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "You really have no idea what you're getting into, do you?" The enforcers exchanged quick glances, clearly unamused by his arrogance. "We'll see about that," the lead enforcer muttered, snapping the cuffs around the human's wrists with a resounding click. The man didn't resist. He didn't need to. As they escorted him toward their waiting transport, the human cast a final glance at the towering spires around him, the city of Yanmaria, so proud in its tightly controlled order. Under his breath, he murmured, "You really shouldn't have done that." In the cold, rigid heart of Yanmaria, something unpredictable had just been set into motion. The interrogation chamber was a sterile, featureless cube of metal and light. Smooth, metallic walls pulsed with a faint, eerie glow, marked by shifting alien glyphs that swirled like liquid. At the center of the room sat the human, his wrists bound by shimmering energy cuffs, his hands resting casually on the table before him. He leaned back slightly in his chair, exuding an air of nonchalance, as if he had all the time in the world. There was no trace of concern in his expression, just a spark of idle curiosity. Opposite him stood Zorvok, the lead enforcer, a hulking figure clad in jet-black armor. His helmet was retracted, revealing a hard, battle-worn face etched with alien markings of rank and experience. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the human, clearly unsettled by his calm composure. "This is your final warning, human," Zorvok growled, his voice thick with barely restrained anger. "What is your purpose here? What technology does your species possess that could override our systems?" The human raised an eyebrow, a trace of amusement flickering across his face. "Technology? You really think we're hiding some kind of secret weapon?" He chuckled, the sound bouncing off the cold, sterile walls. "I hate to break it to you, but the most advanced thing we have is probably duct tape." Zorvok's eyes flared with anger. Enough games! He slammed his fist onto the table, causing it to tremble under the impact. You violated Jan Maria's laws, disrupted intergalactic order. We know you have something, a plan. No human walks into an alien city unarmed and alone without a reason. The human's lips curved into a smirk. Maybe we're just made differently. Frustration simmered in the air as Zorvok signaled to a nearby technician. They adjusted a floating screen, bringing a mind probe to life. An intricate alien device designed to extract truth from even the most unyielding species. The room dimmed as the probe activated, its energy tendrils creeping toward the human's temples. But as soon as the tendrils made contact, they flickered, sputtered, and died. The probe's hum turned into a grating whine before it abruptly powered down. Zorvok's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. The human tilted his head slightly, his smirk deepening. Looks like your toy doesn't like me very much. Technicians scrambled, frantically trying to reboot the probe, but it refused to cooperate. Sparks flew, and the entire system glitched, sending waves of confusion through the room. Zorvok snarled, rounding on the human. What are you doing? What trickery is this? No tricks. The human's voice was smooth, almost lazy. You're just not getting it. There's nothing special about me. Humans. We don't exactly mesh well with technology, especially the kind that tries to mess with our minds. We're a bit too chaotic for that. He tapped his forehead with a light gesture. All that emotion, all that unpredictability, were hard to crack. Zorvok's hands curled into fists. You're lying. The human leaned forward, locking eyes with the alien commander. Am I? Before Zorvok could respond, the lights flickered. The steady hum of the ship's systems faltered, and alarms blared in the distance. Zorvok turned toward the door, tension rippling through the vessel. When he glanced back at the human, a knowing smile had spread across the man's face. Oops, the human said with a casual shrug. Looks like your interrogation hit a little glitch. The ship shuddered violently, alarms wailing as red lights flashed in chaotic unison. Zorvok barked orders to his enforcers, their confusion mounting as they scrambled to contain the spiraling malfunctions. The ship, once a paragon of technological superiority, was now unraveling, systems flickering and panels short-circuiting. Amid the chaos, the human remained seated, calm and unbothered, watching the pandemonium unfold with a faint smile. You're behind this, Zorvok snarled, his eyes blazing with fury. What have you done to our systems? The human finally rose to his feet, stretching leisurely as though the restraints had never been an issue. The once active energy cuffs now hung lifeless, their power drained alongside the ship's core systems. He took a step forward, effortlessly discarding the useless restraints. Didn't I warn you, he said, sounding almost amused. Humans don't break that easily. It's not your fancy tech that matters. It's our unpredictability. You rely too much on your machines. We improvise. Zorvok drew his weapon, leveling it at the human with deadly precision. Don't move. The human glanced at the weapon briefly, but remained unfazed, continuing his calm stride forward. As he passed the interrogation table, his hand casually reached for a pen. An ordinary object, seemingly harmless. Before Zorvok could react, the human flicked the pen toward a control panel. It hit with pinpoint accuracy, triggering a burst of sparks that sent the room plunging into darkness. The ship groaned, shuddering as another tremor rocked its frame. Zorvok hesitated for just a moment, long enough for the human to seize the upper hand. In a blur of motion, the human darted forward, snatching a discarded datapad from a fallen enforcer. His eyes flicked over the alien symbols, and within seconds, his fingers moved with lightning speed. The ship's security grid went dark. Sealed doors hissed open, and the remaining enforcers found themselves helpless, locked out of their own systems. Zorvok's face twisted in disbelief. How are you doing this? You're not even armed. The human grinned, clearly savoring the moment. That's the thing about humans. Give us anything, a pen, a paperclip, a little water, and we'll turn it into a weapon. Survival's just the beginning. We adapt. It's in our blood. With a swift movement, the human grabbed a nearby water bottle, unscrewing the cap. He splashed the liquid over a nearby console, and within seconds, sparks flew. A small explosion erupted, disabling the last remnants of the ship's security protocols. Jan Maria's once flawless, technologically advanced ship was now in shambles, undone by a few simple tools and one very resourceful human. Zorvok stumbled back, his eyes wide, filled with disbelief. This can't be happening. Oh, it's happening, the human replied, stepping closer, his voice turning cold, more serious. You should have done your homework. You thought you were arresting some primitive being from a backwater planet. But humans, we're the most dangerous thing you'll ever face. We're unpredictable, relentless, and we don't stop. Ever. The ship jolted again as the human moved toward the exit, leaving Zorvok and his panicked enforcers scrambling amidst the wreckage of their once mighty vessel. Just before disappearing into the narrow ventilation system, he glanced back, his voice carrying an air of finality. I told you, this was a mistake. Chaos gripped the ship. Alarms wailed through the corridors, and the once pristine walls of the Yanmer vessel flickered under the strain of critical system failures. Enforcers rushed through the halls, shouting orders that were drowned out by the malfunctioning machinery. Amid the bedlam, the human slipped through the ventilation ducts with startling calm, guided by the datapad he had hijacked earlier. In the command center, Zorvok's fury boiled over as he stared at the glitching screens. Brief flashes of the human darting through the ship's depths fueled his growing frustration. Find him, Zorvok roared. He cannot escape. But the human was already several steps ahead. He silently dropped into a lower maintenance bay, where dim light threw long shadows across the room. Before him stood an untouched escape pod, a sleek beacon of hope amidst the chaos. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. It was almost too easy. With practiced precision, the human pried open a panel on the pod's exterior, revealing a tangle of wires. From his jacket, he pulled a small multi-tool, a simple object, but in his hands it was enough. A few swift adjustments, and the pod hummed to life, overriding the ship's lockdown protocols. As the pod doors slid open, footsteps thundered from the hallway. Enforcers were closing in, but the human remained calm. He slid into the pod, inputting commands on the control panel. Just as the doors began to seal, Zorvok burst into the bay, eyes wide with disbelief. You can't escape. You'll never outrun us, Zorvok shouted, raising his weapon. But it was too late. The pod shot away from the ship with a sharp hiss, leaving the Yanmer vessel shrinking in the distance. Inside the escape pod, the human leaned back in his seat, watching as chaos enveloped the ship behind him. He tapped a button on the control console, opening a secure communication line. Time to have some fun, he muttered. The stern face of a Yanmer officer flickered onto the screen, his expression filled with authority. Identify yourself, the officer demanded, his voice dripping with arrogance. The human's grin widened. Just thought I'd let you know you made a big mistake. Arresting a human? Huge error. We don't play by your rules, and we don't go down without a fight. Maybe you should file that under lessons learned. Before the officer could respond, the human cut the transmission, leaning back with a satisfied smirk. Behind him, the Yanmer ship flickered violently, explosions rippling through its structure. He hadn't merely escaped. He had crippled their entire fleet, at least temporarily. The escaped pod hurtled toward the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from their grasp. Back on the Yanmer ship, Zorvok stood frozen amidst the devastation, his face pale with shock. They had underestimated him, underestimated all of humanity. And now, the consequences of that arrogance rippled through the command center as the full scale of their failure became painfully clear. The Yanmer Empire would think twice before crossing paths with Earth again.